The hidden psychology behind infidelity and how to protect your relationship. Infidelity, betrayal, cheating, trust issues, relationship, self esteem, emotional affair, guilt, shame, jealousy, anxiety, couples therapy, forgiveness. Have you ever wondered what actually drives someone to betray the person they claim to love? I mean, we've all heard the stories, maybe even lived through them ourselves. The shocking discovery, the broken trust, the complete confusion of how someone could throw away everything for what seems like a moment of weakness. But here's what most people don't realize about infidelity: it's rarely about sex, and it's almost never about love. I've spent years studying the psychology behind betrayal, and what I've discovered will probably surprise you. The reasons people cheat have very little to do with their partner and everything to do with what's happening inside their own mind. Understanding this can literally save your relationship, whether you're trying to heal from betrayal or prevent it from happening in the first place. So let's start with the biggest myth about cheating. Most people think infidelity happens because someone finds their partner boring or unattractive. That's completely wrong. Research shows that people in happy relationships cheat just as often as those in troubled ones. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. The real triggers for betrayal are much deeper and more complex than we've been led to believe.
The first thing you need to understand is that cheating is almost always about emotional needs that the person doesn't even recognize they have. Think about it this way: when someone feels invisible in their daily life, when they're struggling with low self esteem, or when they're going through what psychologists call an identity crisis, they become vulnerable to attention from someone new. It's not that they plan to betray their partner, it's that they were emotionally starving and someone offered them exactly what they were craving. This is why emotional affairs are actually more dangerous than physical ones. When someone starts sharing their deepest thoughts and feelings with someone outside their relationship, they're creating an intimate bond that their partner doesn't even know exists. They're getting validation, excitement, and that intoxicating feeling of being truly seen and understood. Before they know it, they're emotionally invested in someone else, and crossing physical boundaries starts to feel inevitable. Now, here's where it gets really interesting from a psychological perspective. People who cheat often have what we call an avoidant attachment style. This means they unconsciously fear deep intimacy, even though they desperately want it. So, when their relationship starts to feel too real, too committed, too vulnerable, their brain literally looks for an escape route. Cheating becomes a way to create distance without having to deal with the scary conversation of admitting they're afraid of being truly known. But there's another pattern that's even more common, especially in long term relationships. It's what I call the invisible partner syndrome. This happens when someone feels completely taken for granted. They're doing all the right things, being responsible, showing up day after day, but they feel like their partner doesn't really see them anymore. They start to feel like they're just going through the motions of life without any real passion or excitement. Or when someone in this state meets a person who shows genuine interest in who they are, who asks about their dreams and really listens to their answers, who makes them feel attractive and interesting again, it creates a psychological perfect storm. They're not thinking about betraying their partner. They're thinking about finally feeling alive again. This is why midlife crisis affairs are so common. People hit their 40s or 50s, look at their life, and suddenly panic that they've become invisible, that their best years are behind them, that they've lost themselves in their roles as parent, employee, or spouse. An affair becomes a way to prove to themselves that they're still desirable, still interesting, still capable of inspiring passion in someone. The guilt and shame that follow infidelity are absolutely crushing, which is why so many people who cheat describe feeling like they're living a double life. They love their partner, they don't want to hurt them, but they also can't seem to stop pursuing this other connection that makes them feel so much more like themselves. It's a psychological trap that destroys their mental health even as they're destroying their relationship. Here's what's really heartbreaking about all of this. Most affairs could be prevented if couples knew how to recognize and address these emotional danger zones before they become critical. When someone starts feeling invisible or taken for granted, when they're struggling with their identity or self-worth, when they're craving more excitement or validation. These are all signals that the relationship needs attention. If you're watching this and thinking about your own relationship, ask yourself these questions. When was the last time you had a real conversation with your partner about their dreams, their fears, their hopes for the future? When did you last tell them specifically what you appreciate about who they are, not just what they do? When did you last plan something together that felt exciting and new? The strongest protection against infidelity isn't monitoring your partner's phone or trying to control their interactions with other people. It's creating a relationship where both people feel truly seen, valued, and emotionally fulfilled. It's about building such a strong emotional connection that the idea of seeking that intimacy elsewhere becomes unthinkable. Now, if you're dealing with betrayal in your own relationship, I want you to know that healing is absolutely possible, but it requires understanding what really happened. It's not about forgiveness happening overnight or just deciding to trust again. It's about both partners doing the deep work to understand how the relationship became vulnerable to this kind of betrayal in the first place. The person who cheated needs to figure out what emotional needs they were trying to meet through the affair and learn healthier ways to communicate and address those needs within the relationship. The betrayed partner needs support to process their trauma, rebuild their self esteem, and decide whether they want to rebuild trust with this person. Couples therapy can be incredibly helpful during this process because a skilled therapist can help both partners understand the psychological patterns that led to the betrayal and develop new ways of connecting that actually address the root causes instead of just treating the symptoms. The truth about infidelity is that it's rarely about the other person and almost always about unmet emotional needs, unresolved personal issues, and relationship patterns that have been ignored for too long. Understanding this doesn't excuse betrayal, but it does give you the power to protect your relationship and create the kind of deep, satisfying connection that makes cheating feel impossible. If this resonates with you, make sure to subscribe for more insights into relationship psychology and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Your relationships are worth the effort it takes to understand them deeply.